Before I start, I want to say this. If you're listening, don't make the same mistake I did. Don't ignore the strange lights in the sky, don't brush off the weird static on the radio, and definitely don't laugh when people tell you about missing time. I used to do all of that. I thought alien abductions were just stories for tabloids and desperate people looking for attention. Now I know better. My name is Daniel Moore, I'm 32 years old. I work as a mechanic in a small town in Ohio, and a few months ago I was literally taken, by something I still can't fully understand. It started on an ordinary Tuesday night. I had stayed late at the garage, fixing up a customer's old Ford truck. By the time I finally closed shop, it was past midnight. The streets were quiet, no traffic, no pedestrians, just the hum of crickets and the occasional bark of a stray dog. I got in my car, rolled down the windows, and let the cool air wash over me. There's a stretch of back road I always take home, a shortcut through open fields. No houses, no lights, just miles of farmland. Usually I like it. It's peaceful, no one around, just me and the night sky. That night, the sky was clearer than I'd ever seen it. The stars seemed brighter, closer, like I could reach out and touch them. At first I didn't think much of it when I noticed a cluster of lights hovering low on the horizon. Planes maybe, or some farmer's drone. But they didn't move like planes. They pulsed. They shifted in strange patterns, almost like they were signaling each other. I slowed down, leaned forward over the steering wheel, trying to make sense of it. Then everything around me went dead, my car engine, the radio, even the headlights. The road disappeared into darkness, and the only thing left glowing were those lights above the field. I sat there, gripping the wheel, my chest tight. A buzzing filled my ears, low at first, then rising in pitch until it felt like my skull was vibrating. The air outside shimmered like heat waves on asphalt, and the lights began to descend. My instinct screamed at me to run, but my body wouldn't listen. I couldn't move. My hands were locked to the steering wheel, my legs frozen in place. I remember thinking, this can't be real, this has to be a dream. But the sharp scent of burnt metal in the air told me it wasn't. The next thing I knew, the inside of my car lit up in blinding white. I squeezed my eyes shut, but the light burned through my eyelids, searing every nerve. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. And then nothing. Just silence. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't in my car anymore. I was lying flat on a cold metallic surface, my arms and legs pinned down by invisible restraints. The room was dim, the walls curved and seamless, like I was inside the belly of some giant machine. A faint humming echoed all around, steady and mechanical. I tried to lift my head, and that's when I saw them. 3 figures stood at the edge of the room. They weren't like the gray cartoon aliens you see on TV. They were tall, at least 7 feet, thin to the point of looking fragile, with elongated arms that moved too smoothly, almost like they were gliding rather than walking. Their skin wasn't gray but pale, almost translucent, with faint blue veins glowing beneath the surface. Their heads were elongated, not grotesquely large but stretched, with high ridges where their brows should be. Their eyes? I can barely describe them. Black, yes, but not just black, deep, endless, like looking into a void that wanted to swallow me whole. One of them tilted its head as if studying me, and in that moment, every ounce of skepticism I'd ever had evaporated. I knew without doubt that I wasn't on Earth anymore, or at least not anywhere I recognized. I tried to speak, to beg, to demand answers, but nothing came out. My throat felt paralyzed, as if they had shut off my ability to make sound. The tallest of the 3 raised a long skeletal hand, and a thin beam of bluish light scanned over my body from head to toe. It wasn't painful, but it left a tingling sensation in its wake, like static electricity crawling under my skin. Then, without moving their mouths, I heard something, felt something inside my head. A voice that wasn't a voice, a thought that wasn't mine. You will not be harmed. We observe. We learn. My heart hammered against my ribs. Observed? Learned? What the hell did that mean? I wanted to fight, to break free, but my body refused to obey. I was trapped, a specimen under a microscope, and whatever they were, they had no intention of letting me go anytime soon. The humming in the room grew louder, and I realized it wasn't just coming from the walls. It was inside me too, vibrating through my chest cavity, rattling my teeth. The three beings circled the table, never speaking, never touching me, just watching. I tried to focus, to find some detail that would break the surreal terror, but everything felt wrong. The air was too thin, too clean, carrying no scent except the faint metallic tang that clung to my tongue. The light came from nowhere, no lamps, no bulbs, just a soft glow that seemed to bleed directly out of the walls. Then the table beneath me shifted. Without warning, I was tilted upright, my back pressed against the smooth surface, my legs dangling uselessly. The invisible restraints held me firm. The tallest figure raised its hand again, and a panel slid open in the wall. From it, a fourth being emerged. This one was different, shorter, stockier, its skin darker, with a strange ridge running down the center of its skull like a crest. It carried something in its hands, a device shaped like a disc, humming faintly with blue light. My stomach twisted. I knew instinctively that this thing was meant for me. They didn't speak, but I felt a rush of images in my head. Fragmented, fast, like flipping through TV channels. Earth from above. A forest burning. A child crying in a hospital bed. A city skyline flickering with thousands of lights. None of them were mine, but they felt poured into me, pressing against my own thoughts until I couldn't tell what was real anymore. The shorter alien pressed the disc against my chest, right above my heart. My entire body arched in pain. It wasn't like electricity, not exactly. It was deeper, sharper, like they were pulling something out of me or maybe pushing something in. I tried to scream, but my jaw locked shut. The only sound was a strangled grunt escaping my throat. Then, as suddenly as it started, the pain stopped. My body fell limp against the restraints, sweat dripping down my face. My heart thudded unevenly, as if it had skipped a beat. I gasped, and in that gasp something changed. I could hear them now, not in words but in thoughts that weren't mine. They weren't just observing me, they were connecting to me. You see, you feel, you understand. The voice inside my skull whispered, layered and alien, like multiple tones speaking at once. My mind reeled. Understand what? What did they want from me? The taller figure leaned in closer, its enormous black eyes only inches from mine. Staring into them was like staring into the ocean at night, bottomless, terrifying, yet strangely mesmerizing. A wave of emotions not my own washed over me. Curiosity, urgency, something like pity. Then, in the far corner of the room, another panel slid open. This time it wasn't another alien that appeared. It was a man. Or at least he looked like a man. Middle-aged, pale, wearing what looked like a hospital gown. His eyes were wild, darting around like a trapped animal. When he saw me, his mouth moved silently, desperate, but no words came out. He staggered forward, only to be pulled back by some unseen force, dragged into the shadows. My heart nearly stopped. He wasn't the first. I wasn't the only one. My mind screamed questions. Who was he? How long had he been here? What had they done to him? But before I could process, the beings turned their attention back to me. The shorter one pressed the disc against my head this time, right at my temple. A blinding surge of images hit me again, this time stronger, sharper. I saw stars, endless stars, swirling galaxies, a blue planet that wasn't Earth, strange towering structures made of silver and glass. And then death. A wasteland. A civilization crumbling under skies of fire. My chest tightened, panic clawing at me. Were these their memories? Their history? Or was this the future they were showing me, our future? When the vision ended, I was shaking uncontrollably. I wanted to collapse, to curl into a ball, but the restraints wouldn't let me. My voice finally broke free in a hoarse whisper. Why me? For the first time, I felt a direct answer, clear as thunder in my skull. Because you will remember. The words chilled me deeper than anything else that had happened. They didn't say I was chosen. They didn't say I was special, just that I would remember. And that, I realized with dread, was exactly what they wanted. The room shifted again, not physically but perceptually. The walls rippled like water disturbed by a stone, and suddenly I was no longer sure if I was on a table in a ship or standing somewhere else entirely. It was like the space itself bent, reshaping reality around me. My body was still restrained, yet my mind seemed dragged forward into something larger. I found myself standing, or imagining I was standing, on the edge of a vast plain beneath a black sky filled with stars I didn't recognize. Towering spires of metal rose in the distance, curving and intersecting like colossal ribs. A strange aurora pulsed above them, casting waves of green and violet light across the horizon. The beings were there too, only now there were dozens, hundreds. They stood in rows, motionless, their heads tilted upward as if watching the sky. A pulse resonated through the ground, rhythmic and deliberate, like a colossal heartbeat. I knew this wasn't a dream. This was something they wanted me to see. A memory? A simulation? I didn't know. Then I noticed the faces. Human faces. People were scattered among them, men, women, even children, all with the same hollow, wide-eyed stare. Their bodies were thin, sickly, draped in rags, and their movements were robotic, unnatural. My stomach turned cold. Were these prisoners? Survivors? Or something far worse? I tried to turn away, but my vision was locked in place, forcing me to take it all in. The sky rippled again, and in an instant the scene shifted. Fire. Explosions tearing through those same towers. The beings scattered, their voices, if you could call them that, rising in a chorus of panic. The ground cracked open, swallowing entire structures. A blinding white light engulfed the plain, and everything collapsed into silence. The next second I was back in the room. My restraints released and I collapsed onto the cold floor, gasping for air. My muscles ached like I'd run for miles, and my hands shook so violently I could barely hold myself up. The three original figures loomed over me, their black eyes unblinking. "Do you understand now?" The thought thundered through me again. My lips trembled, words breaking out against my will. "Your world, it's gone." A heavy silence fell, though none of them moved. Then another voice, not theirs, broke into my mind. This one was faint, human, terrified. "Don't let them in. Don't let them inside you." I whipped my head around, searching for the source, and there he was again, the man I had seen before, the one dragged away. His face appeared through another panel, his eyes bloodshot and desperate. For a split second, I felt his thoughts bleeding into mine. Pain, agony, a desperate plea to resist. Then the wall sealed shut, cutting him off. My chest pounded with adrenaline. What the hell was happening? Were they using me the same way they used him? Was I doomed to become like that, trapped, broken? A warning to the next unlucky soul? The beings leaned closer, their presence suffocating. They didn't restrain me again, but I couldn't move. My legs refused to work, my arms heavy as stone. One of them extended its elongated hand and touched the side of my head with a single finger. A piercing cold shot straight into my skull, freezing me from the inside out. This time the images weren't of their world, they were of mine. I saw Earth spinning quietly in space. Then I saw darkness creeping over it, swallowing oceans, mountains, cities. Not destruction through war or fire, but something subtler. A slow, deliberate invasion of thought. I saw myself standing in a crowd of people, all staring blankly ahead, their eyes black mirrors. I screamed, but the sound never left my throat. The vision snapped away, and I was left trembling, sweat running down my spine. Why show me this? I croaked, my voice raw. For the first time, I thought I saw movement in their faces. Not expressions like humans, but a flicker, like a ripple across the surface of water. Because it begins with you. The words, "because it begins with you," echoed in my skull long after the beings stopped speaking. I wanted to argue, to tell them they were wrong, but a part of me already knew the truth. They hadn't picked me at random. Something about me mattered to them, though I couldn't imagine why. I was just a mechanic from a small Ohio town. I wasn't a scientist or a soldier or anyone important. Yet in their vast alien calculus, I was exactly what they needed. The room shifted again, folding around itself like liquid glass. This time I was no longer confined. My legs buckled, but I stood swaying, staring at the creatures. They moved aside, almost like they were inviting me to walk forward. At the far end of the chamber, another door, or what looked like a door, melted open. Beyond it stretched a corridor of impossible geometry, its walls curving and twisting in ways my mind struggled to comprehend. Every step I took echoed with a hollow resonance, like the sound was traveling farther than it should, bouncing into dimensions I couldn't see. I don't know why I walked forward. Maybe I had no choice. Maybe something in me wanted to know what lay ahead. The corridor ended in a vast chamber, far larger than anything I'd seen yet. In the center hovered a sphere of light, pulsing with energy so bright it forced me to shield my eyes. Around it, machines or beings, I couldn't tell which, moved in perfect synchrony, their forms blending into the walls, their shapes constantly shifting. The three figures who had first taken me stood behind, silent, watching. The shorter, stockier one approached the sphere and gestured for me to come closer. Against every instinct, I obeyed. As I neared, the sphere pulsed faster, its glow intensifying. My chest tightened, my vision blurred, and a surge of warmth spread through my veins. Then, without warning, the sphere expanded, stretching outward until it engulfed me. I wasn't in the chamber anymore. I was floating in space, stars stretching infinitely around me. Earth hung below, blue and fragile, a marble suspended in the dark. But I wasn't looking at it with my own eyes. I was seeing it through theirs. Every detail sharpened. The thinness of the atmosphere, the vulnerability of the oceans, the delicate balance of ecosystems. I felt their hunger, not for resources but for survival. Their world had died, and now they looked to mine as their salvation. A flood of knowledge poured into me. They weren't conquerors, not in the way I'd imagined. They weren't here to burn or destroy. They were here to inhabit, to slip quietly into the cracks of humanity, until we wouldn't know where we ended and they began. They didn't need armies or weapons. They only needed willing hosts. And I was there first. My body convulsed as the sphere pressed deeper, embedding thoughts, commands, fragments of alien language into my mind. I felt it knitting into me, rewriting me. I clawed at my own head, desperate to rip it out, but there was nothing physical to grab. Just waves of thought, settling into my consciousness like seeds planted in soil. I fell to my knees, gasping, the weight of it crushing me. My mind screamed for freedom, but a colder voice whispered beneath it, steady, inevitable. You will carry us. Then I was back in the chamber. The sphere dimmed, retreating into its original size. My body shook with exhaustion, but I was still standing. The beings watched me, their eyes unreadable voids. And for the first time I realized something terrifying. I could hear their thoughts without them directing them at me. Fragments slipped through. Plans, memories, whispers of things too vast for me to understand. They had opened a door in me, and it wasn't closing. My heart pounded as I stumbled back, my hands trembling. No, I whispered. I don't want this. The tall one tilted its head, and in my mind came the response. You already are. I staggered backward, my breath ragged, my heart slamming against my ribs as if it wanted to escape my chest. The beings didn't move, but their presence pressed heavier against me. A weightless pressure that made my thoughts feel borrowed. The chamber around us dimmed, the glowing walls fading until only the pulsing sphere of light remained. I could still feel it inside me, a rhythm not my own syncing with my heartbeat. My instincts screamed to fight, to resist, but the voice that now lived in me whispered reassurance. It is done. You are the vessel. I shook my head violently, clutching my temples. No, you can't do this. I won't let you. My own voice sounded small, hollow, swallowed by the cavernous room. But even as I shouted, I knew the truth. They already had. The shortest of the beings glided closer, its black eyes unblinking. A wave of calm poured through me. Not mine, but theirs, a manufactured serenity designed to quiet my panic. My body betrayed me, my breathing slowing, my shoulders dropping even as my mind screamed. I realized then that true horror wasn't torture or pain. It was surrender without consent. The chamber dissolved again, collapsing inward like ink spreading across water. A blink later, I was back in my car. My hands gripped the steering wheel, the engine humming quietly, headlights glowing down the empty country road. Crickets chirped outside. The night was silent, ordinary. For a long moment I sat frozen, convinced I'd gone insane. Maybe it had been a dream. Maybe exhaustion had broken my mind. But then I looked at the clock. It was 3:17 a.m. I had left the garage at midnight. Hours had passed unaccounted for. My reflection in the windshield caught my eye, and my stomach dropped. My pupils were dilated, black, swallowing nearly all of the blue in my irises. My chest throbbed with that alien rhythm, steady and unnatural. I wasn't the same. I drove home in a haze, barely aware of the road, every shadow seeming alive, every star in the sky a reminder. When I finally stumbled into my apartment, I locked every door, shut every curtain, and collapsed on the couch, trembling. But sleep never came, because the whispers were still there. Faint, patient, waiting. You will remember. You will carry us. Days have passed since then, though I barely keep track anymore. People notice the changes. My coworkers ask why I stare too long at nothing, why I flinch at sudden noises, why I seem distracted. They don't know that at night, when the world is quiet, I hear voices teaching me things I shouldn't know. Equations I've never studied, maps of stars I've never seen, languages no human tongue could pronounce. I haven't told anyone. Who would believe me? And even if they did, what could they possibly do? This is bigger than me, bigger than all of us. I know now why that other man in the chamber begged me not to let them in. I failed. I didn't resist. And now they are here inside me, waiting for the right time. Sometimes I wonder why they chose me, why I was the one they decided would remember. But deep down, I already know the answer. It doesn't matter who I was. What matters is what I am becoming. And if you're hearing this, if you ever find yourself driving down a lonely road under a sky too full of stars, turn around. Don't look at the lights. Don't stop the car. Because once they find you, once they mark you, there is no going back. And I promise you this, the next time they come, I won't be taken. I'll be leading them.